Hope you guys have had a great time at Cisco Live Barcelona. Welcome. We're going to have a really great discussion today. We're going to start out really talking about what we mean by disruption. We'll talk about why we even care about the subject. And then we'll conclude with probably the most important part, which is really giving you 10 core calls to action as to what you can do to ensure that you become the disruptor rather than the disrupted. So, beginning of the new year, how many of you have started and kept your New Year's resolutions? All right. Okay, last year I had my New Year's resolution, and it was really great because I said, I'm going to embrace my inner self. I'm going to become a millennial. And let me tell you, the experience has been great. I learned a couple things, right? First thing I learned was, how many of you would rather lose your car than your cell phone? A car. Okay, so you're good. You're on your way to reaching my goal of being a millennial. Okay, question number 2. Let's see how you do. Okay. How many of you would rather lose your sense of smell before you lost connectivity to the internet? Oh, boy, the millennial group is going down now. It's going down. Okay, now, unfortunately, I got to tell you, most of you have just failed the test. Here's the problem. You've been listening to me for more than 9 seconds. Attention span for a millennial is about 8 seconds. Then you're in trouble, right? Then you're out. This is the kind of workforce and the world that we find ourselves living into, right? This is the kind of change that you're going to be exposing yourself to. So when you think about disruption, it not only involves people, but it also involves business models. So we did some great research. We asked 1,000 business professionals, and we said, tell me about disruption. In fact, let's get really specific. Of the top 10 companies in your industry, how many will fall out of the top 10 in 5 years? They said 40%. That's a lot, man. Then we said, forget the 5 years. Tell me how long you think it's going to take. They said 3 years. Oh, man. And when you say fall out of the top 10, do you mean they still exist? Or are they like not on the planet anymore, right? Are they on Rowan's trip to Mars, right? Are they somewhere else? They go 41%, man, said that they don't even exist anymore, right? This gives you the sense of magnitude. And what are you doing about it? Do you have a plan? Only 1 out of 4 said, yeah, we got a plan for this, right? So, wow, this is pretty dark times, right? So we said, okay, well, does it really matter? Are we just talking about stuff that's just kind of nice and gee whiz, but does it really matter? So let's take the example of self-driving cars. Funny thing is when we talk about businesses, how do we talk about them? What do we use to describe what business you're in? We use terms like financial services, retail, manufacturing, right? Partners, service providers, web services. All those terms were invented when? Prior to or before the internet? Same thing, right? Before, right? They don't apply anymore. So let's take self-driving cars. Okay, so the easiest thing to think about is, how will it disrupt? Well, let's talk about, first off, it's probably simple. You understand taxing and transportation. That's pretty easy. Parts may not be as easy, though, right? You got a self-driving car. It's automated. You're probably going to drive it the right way. That's going to change repair intervals, right? Okay, let's talk about transportation now. When you book a trip, how do you book the trip? Typically, the car is the last thing you think about, right? You book your hotel first, right? Or you book your air flights, but the car is the last thing. All of a sudden, now you got a car driving you where you want to be. Maybe that car says, well, Joseph, actually, if give me some time that you're out, we can book you on an earlier flight on United versus American. Think about that disruption. Okay, now let's think about insurance. That's pretty easy. But what about retail? You're in a self-driving car. It's going to give you the route to get from point A to point B. What happens if the routes take the same time? How does it choose? Maybe this route There's an Amazon store. Maybe this route. There's a Best Buy or your other favorite electronic store. Do you think that could have a play in how the retail value is created? Absolutely. Finally, think about real estate. Many of us live in the city because why? Because it's closer, it's convenient to get to our jobs, right? It's easier to get to our work. We don't want that long commute. So real estate prices in the city tend to rise much higher, right? What happens all of a sudden if I only live in the city because my work is there, I don't want to live outside because it's too far, but now all of a sudden I don't have to worry about driving. Now this thing takes me there. Could that have an impact on prices? Absolutely, right? So when you think about all these things, they can all disrupt the business model. And then you got technologies, blockchain, machine learning, IoT, my favorite, virtual reality, all these things that could disrupt, right? The point is, when we talk about disruption, ultimately what you want to understand, it's how we change the rules of value creation based on the intersection of people, data, and technology. How you create value. Value could be money for you, value could be experience for you, value could be whatever you define as valuable for you, but it's impacted by people, data, and technology. So, disruptor says, I don't care how things are created. Care less. Banking example, here's the value chain. All a disruptor cares about is show me where the value is. Very simple business, and look how it's being disrupted. All these players are picking out saying, where is the value? Squirrel is my favorite example. Kids in college, Squirrel is a great example. Imagine this story. Traditional banking, trying to figure out how do we create more money out of savings? That's the question they're asking. How do we get more people to save? Squirrel says, interesting, millennial, 52% of the workforce, attention span, how do we get savings to be a higher priority? Ooh, they like social media. I tell you what, why don't we give them a picture? Why don't we allow them to put a picture of what it is they're savings for and have that be the first thing they see on the account? So you create an account, and I want to save for a Maserati. So I'll put a picture of the Maserati. So now on my cell phone, it says Maserati, and it tells me the goal that I'm going to. Simple. They're killing it. Now imagine that conversation happening at a bank. Man, you want to put pictures where? We're not putting pictures on this site. Are you nuts? Regulation, blah, blah, blah. That's what they went to. Something as simple as identifying value with a simple picture creates this money. Okay, so why do we care? Is it just gee whiz stuff? Does it really, really matter? Every company will experience a revenue stall. When they do, this is very important, when they do, they studied a great book called Stall Points. They studied over 100 companies. Average drop in value was 74% with more than a 50% turnover of executives. It matters. Only 1 out of 10 companies will recover from the revenue stall. Only 1 out of 10 companies. 1 out of 10. So, this is why everybody's talking about you better be the disruptor versus the disrupted. So, are you ready for the challenge ahead? Here comes the good part. You can relax. It's very, very simple. The answer is very, very easy. I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to love it. It's so simple, it's right in front of you. Okay, here's the first thing that you got to do. First off, you got to get a new wardrobe. You got to get rid of the suits. You got to get these nice skinny jeans that feel really tight. And then you got to get these shoes that look like they're dress shoes, but they're really tennis shoes. And then you got to get rid of that stuffy shirt. You got to take it out. And you got to get a sports jacket like this, and you start using some cool terms a little bit, get more relaxed. Then you go find a room, and you get a bunch of stickies, and you put it on the wall. And then you got to offer everybody free drinks, soda, popcorn, whatever they want. Then you get some video games. You put the video machines in the office. And then you put the word Innovation Center. And you got it. You done, man. That's what you got to do, right? That's it. That's all you got to do, right? It's immediately cool. Now, I'm making fun of it, but you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised at what I just described. That's the first thing people generally try to do. It's the first thing they do, right? I wish that was the answer, right? But it's not that easy. Okay, what is the answer? We'll get to the meat of it. 95% of a business performance is based on the decisions that you make as IT leaders, right? You want to know how your business is performing? 95% is based on the decision that you make. So the ability for you to ensure that you drive value in a world that's being disrupted is to improve your decision making. That's what you got to do, right? So how do you do that? Okay, I'm going to give you 10 rules that I think you can apply and take starting right now and apply them and help yourself drive some value. Okay, I'm going to tell you a story. I love playing basketball. Favorite sport, without a doubt. I was pretty good. I remember my first game, I was so excited, did well, and then they had this all-star game where only the best could play. I was like, yeah, I want to get an all-star game. 8th graders in the U.S., that's typically who they selected, right? I happened to be 2 grades lower, 6th grade. Point guard, woo, in the all-star game. Man, I'm feeling good. Game starts, we got 2 halves, 20-minute halves. 2 halves, 20-minute halves. I'm starting. End of the first half. We down 35-6. My guy has 20 points. Now you got to remember, it's 8th grade. You only got 20 minutes. He's scoring a point a minute. He got 20 points. My dad comes down to me and says, "Are you having fun?" I said, No, I'm not having fun. He said, have you figured it out yet? I said, figure what? He's left-handed. Every time you guard him to the right, he keeps going by you to the left. What was I doing? I was failing fast. I don't want to fail fast. I don't want to fail slow. Get that terminology out. You want to improve your rate of learning. That's the objective. That's the objective. No one wakes up in the morning and says, I want to fail fast, I want to fail slow. Fail fast, missing your number every quarter. Fail slow, missing your number every year. That ain't fun. Nothing fun about it, right? Improve your rate of learning. That's what you want to focus in on, right? Okay, second thing. Biggest advantage to you as an IT leader. Your biggest source of value is adoption. Adoption. You take the benefit of something times the level of adoption is how we as IT professionals get value out of what we do. If it's not adopted, there's no value, okay? So that means that where we're talking about security, very important, security has to evolve beyond protecting something. You got to make sure the data is right. You got to have data integrity. Why do you have to have data integrity? Because people got to use it. If they don't trust it, I don't care how good it is. I don't care how great your analytics are. It doesn't get adopted. So the data has to be secure, yes, but it has to be right. That's why they all talk about blockchain. So I'll give you an example, autonomous vehicles. Data's got to be correct, yes. Data has to be secure, yes. But if that radio in the car, do discrete short radio, do discrete communication, right? DTRC, something like that. I think that's the protocol. When it's communicating from the radio to either that sign or the radio inside the road, if it says the stop sign is 5 feet, that's great. If I'm in the crosswalk, 5 feet, I'm happy. What happens is when the fog comes around and all of a sudden it says it's 7 feet? That's a problem. That's a real problem, right? So the data has to be right. So security has to evolve beyond just security and has to move to trust. Very, very important concept, right? Okay. Third thing. How many of you understand and know the difference between diversity and inclusion? We got one. She's seen it before, though. She don't count. X. The difference between diversity and inclusion. Is there a difference? How many people think there's a difference? Is there a difference? Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay. Diversity is the potential for value. It's the potential for value. Inclusion is the realization of that value. Okay, so let me give you a real example. All of us had a company call me and they said, Joseph, we got this really, really important decision we got to make. I said, okay. They said, we'd love to have you come in and just make sure that we're following the right principles, the collaboration and everything else. So no problem. So what's the problem? They said, we got a low-cost competitor coming in and we need to know, should we reduce our price in response to the low-cost competitor? And we got a diverse group of people established on this call, on video, to have this conversation. All parts of our business represented. Wonderful call. The call goes on for about 45 minutes. Last part of the call, we got the answer. They said, we got the answer. We believe that we should definitely reduce our price and not take a value play against this competitor. We should reduce our price. They said, Joseph, what do you think? We followed the process. Are we good to go? I said, well, it is true that you have a diverse group of members represented. However, for the last 45 minutes, I've only heard 2 people talking. You been on those calls? 2 people talking the whole time. I said, so maybe, just maybe, we might want to try a more inclusive approach, but why don't we establish having a poll feature, hidden poll feature, using WebEx, did a quick little poll. Sure enough, of the 20 people on the call, 2 said we should reduce our price, the 2 that were talking all the time, and the other 18 people said, heck no. The value and the difference between inclusion and diversity. Inclusion is the full participation. So, number one question I get, how do you get a diverse workforce? How do you get a diverse workforce? How do you have the potential for value? How do you do it? How do you do it? Any ideas? What's the good? I mean, how do you, it's easy to say, Joseph, but how do you get a diverse workforce? How many of you are Nike fans? Nike fan, good. Just do it. What are you worried about? You just do it. Don't do any fancy analytics. This is really simple. Don't overthink this one. If somebody tells you, oh, our available population of this diverse candidate represents only 5%, so therefore we're at 1% population, so we're doing pretty good, because we can only find 5% that's available of this type of diverse force that qualifies for the jobs that we have. Oh, wow. Don't believe that. Don't believe that. Diversity and inclusion is not only the right thing, it's a profitable thing. It's the course and source of your competitive differentiation. So how do you just do it? If you want to catch a bass and you're fishing in a pond that only has trout, what's the percentage chance that you're going to catch a bass? 0. So if you want to catch a bass, you got to make sure, only thing you got to do, you got to make sure that there is bass where you fishing. So when you interview for a role, when you interview for a job as an IT leader, you need to make sure that the slate of candidates is diverse. That's it. The rest will take care of itself. The rest will take care of itself. But you as leaders have to demand it. You have to demand it. If you don't demand it, it won't happen. It will not happen, right? Very, very, very important. Very, very important. You have to demand it, right? The Pound Me Too movement in the U.S. is an embarrassment. Do you understand what that means? You understand the severity? How many of you are aware of the Pound Me Too movement in the U.S.? Are you aware of what that is? Okay. So what it basically says is 52% of the U.S. workforce has not been listened to. That's what it says. 52% of the U.S. workforce has not been listened to, has not been given the opportunity to speak, has not been given the opportunity to create value. That's what it says. All the great things that we thought were good, man, how good could they have been if we would have listened? That's the importance of diversity and inclusion, right? Really, really critically important. Okay, let's go to the 4th one. Man, data has gravity. What does that mean? Data has gravity. It means decision-making as an IT leader is moving closer and closer to the customer. That's what it means, right? So you want to make better decisions, you got to make sure that you have an edge strategy. You're enabling your business to move decision-making as close as they can to the customer. Why is that important? Because context is king. Context, in this world that we live in, as things change, context is critical. What do I mean by that? Okay, how many of you travel a lot? That's great, love you fellow travelers. I did about 400,000 miles last year. It's a lot of miles, man. And at least maybe 1 out of 3 trips, I'd reach down and I grab from my Bose headphones. I go, oh, and I don't have them. And I get in a panic. Oh my God, I do not have my noise canceling Bose headphones. Why is that a problem? The reason it's a problem is because this beautiful, beautiful young couple with these well-behaved kids, age 2 and 4, when they get on the plane and they scan that ticket, that little sign that goes, doop, what it really tells those kids is, find Joseph Bradley. And it doesn't matter if I'm sitting in the first row, I'm sitting in the back row, I'm off the plane, they're gonna find me and enjoy my seat and wanna show me how energetic they are about me, and they proceed to show me all that love. So Joseph Bradley, in that moment, now we establish this, millennial, looking for a pair of headphones, African-American male, millennial, looking for a pair of headphones, in that moment is very different than Joseph Bradley, African-American male, millennial, looking for a pair of headphones on the weekend. Two completely different people. In the first case, man, I'm going to that kiosk. I don't care what the price is. I might buy 2 or 3. All I care about is availability, right? That's all I care about. Is it available? In the second case, oh man, I want to know about decibels. I want to have an intellectual conversation, right? Very, very different. So the reason you move decision-making as close as you can to the customer is because you want to understand context. You want to talk about weather, temperature, timing, emotional status. All those things can be captured by the network. That's why that is so critically important. Okay, number 5, knowledge transfer. Super Bowl weekend in the U.S., right? Super Bowl weekend, American version of football. Big sporting event happening in the U.S. Knowledge transfer is your weapon of commoditization. Probably the best example of this. The next speaker, Joe Coslino, huge Patriots fan, right? Huge Patriots fan. Can't be perfect. But huge Patriots fan, right? Okay, the Patriots are probably the best example of this. If you listen to most IT leaders and they talk about their challenges, this is never one they mention. Never on the top 5. How do you maintain the knowledge in your organization is very, very critical. Look at the Patriots. It's an amazing story. The NFL is designed for parity. That means the way the teams are constructed, if you're finished first or you win the championship, that means you get the last pick of the best players coming out of college available. There's a salary cap. So the only way you can really ensure that you are competitive is to have a system that transfers knowledge from one player to the next. That's the only way you can do it, right? Knowledge transfer is critically important. What do you do as an IT leader to improve and ensure that you have knowledge transfer? How do we typically do it? Oh, don't worry, let's just meta tag everything. Put a meta tag, put a meta tag, put a meta tag, put a meta tag. Got this nice system, search, and we're all done. Right? Problem is, knowledge requires that word context. I have to know why you made the decision. If I asked you, tell me where in your organization have you made the last 10 decisions, what were they? And why did you make them? Is it accessible for people? Right? Easiest way to do that, get a piece of paper out, purpose, strategy, objectives, metrics. Piece on, one piece of paper. Captures exactly what you're trying to achieve, what your strategy is, what your objectives are, what your metrics are, but more importantly, gives people in your organization an understanding of why you're making the decisions, right? Why you're making decisions. Okay, shift your focus. Don't just fix problems, scale success. I had an opportunity to work with Navid Ali. He's the president of Realty One Group, president CEO. And he said, Joseph, I got a problem. I said, sure, what's going on? He says, I got really great general performance, but I got these 3 employees that I think have a lot of potential, but they're not getting there. It's a major problem that I have. I said, okay, what have you done? He said, well, I'm going to start focusing. I've been focusing on these 3 employees. I've been telling them, here's how you need to do better. Here's how you need to drive a better relationship with the customer. This is what you need to do. And I said, interesting. I said, how many employees do you have? He said, well, we got about 20. I said, okay. And I said, well, what happened when you did this? He said, I had the worst performing quarter we ever had. I said, really? He said, yeah. He's like, I'm at a loss. I don't understand why. I said, well, you know what happened, right? You stopped telling the other 17 what they were doing so well. So they figured you didn't care. So they stopped doing what they did so well. Focus on scaling success. Success in this world, how easy is it for momentum to spread? Think about social media. Think about millennials. Think about the new workforce. How easy is it? Success can spread like wildfire, man. You got to focus on that success. If you focus on that success, people will see what is important and they will rise to the occasion. It's amazing to me how many people believe that people wake up in the morning and say, I want to fail. I just don't want to be any good. I just do not want to be any good. I legitimately want to fail. No, people don't do that. Focus on scaling and driving those successes, right? No matter what you do, have the best plan in the world, man, culture will eat that strategy up. So you as leaders have to walk the talk. Now, here's the thing. It used to be walk the talk meant that all you had to do was do that at the job. That was it. That's pretty easy, right? If I value inclusion and diversity, I just got to say on my job, I value inclusion and diversity. That's all I got to do. What's happening right now? What's happened to the job environment? What's converged? Business, social, data, all converging. Think about the questions that are being asked. Enterprises now have to weigh in on political questions they didn't have to weigh in on before. Silence is not an option anymore. If you're silent about a very, very important issue, your workforce feels that must be implicit, that you must support it. So now all of a sudden, they're looking at you as a business leader and saying, what do you feel? Show me that you really are walking the talk. Outside of the work environment, it extends. Social media, it extends. Events, it extends. Facebook, it extends. Twitter, it extends. The goal is, and the point is your culture extends outside. They don't understand the boundaries between you at work, you at home. You say, there are no boundaries. It is who you are. So what they're saying is, if you don't believe and you haven't seen on most websites, they say, well, here's what we're about. Here's our themes. If you as IT leaders don't believe in those themes, they're going to call you out on it. It's not just words on a page anymore. The folks that you are hiring to be successful fundamentally believe in those areas, right? Okay. Number 8. This one is probably one of the most important of all that are here. So, last year, my father-in-law was diagnosed with a terminal illness, and we had very close to him. We had a conversation. Never forget it. And he said, "Joseph, do you know what a good measure, the measure of a true leader is?" He said, "I'm very proud of you." He said, "But you know what the measure of a true leader is?" I said, no. Tell me, what is the measure of a true leader? He said, it's not what they know, but what they share. Not what they know, but what you share. And so I committed to him at that time to actually write a book. And he's still around. The goal was for him to be here to read that book. And it's coming out in March, called Questioneering. And what I learned in the process of writing this book is probably the biggest mistake that most IT and business leaders make in the digital age today. It's very insightful. We have the right answers to the wrong questions. We generate the right answer to the wrong question. So let me tell you what I mean by that. There was a retailer that came to us and said, "Hey, Joseph, we got this major problem. Our problem is as follows. When people come into our store and they see how long our lines are, they abandon their carts and they say, I'm out of here. I don't want to wait around. Line's way too long. Can you help us with this problem? We said, sure, it's IT, no problem. I know the process. Connect dark assets, things, data, process, people. We can come up with a solution. So we did exactly that. We started off by saying, okay, no problem. What's a dark asset? Something in that solution that we can connect today that's not connected. Parking lot, shopping cart. Great. Put a sensor in the parking lot, gave us ones and zeros, Wi-Fi tags on the shopping carts, let us know geospatial information. So we were able to take that dark asset, the thing, translate the data, and we said now we can impact process, and we know 45 minutes in advance when a line is going to get long. Woo! We got it. We're good. Man, we're there. I said, oh, we're not. No. He said, no, we're there. Great. I said, okay, but we're not done yet. No, we're there. Grabs a piece of paper. Sure enough, guy's all excited. Store manager grabs a speakerphone and says, hey, Mark, can you come from the back of the store up to check stand number 4, please? Our lines are going to be getting long. Can you come up and open up check stand number 4? What did he just do? What did he just do to our beautiful technology solution? The question is when people perceive lines are getting long, they abandon their carts. And what did he just do? He just told everybody in the store the lines are getting long. He just told everybody in the store. And what do they hear? It's like, I'm out of here. I'm not going to wait around. I'm out, right? So the answer was, we thought, no problem. We got it solved. All we got to do is simply connect the results, send a message to the mobile device of that person tagging the back of their choice. That's all we got to do, right? Awesome. We solved the problem. I have my son, who is a computer science and accounting major. Goal in life is to get a Maserati. And I got my daughter, listening to this story on the right, classics and English PhD, getting her classes and PhD in English, and her goal in life is to save the world. Both of them listen to this story. This is about 8 years ago. Both of them listen to the story. My son said, see, my daughter's Renelle, see, Renelle, I told you tech rules. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to make money. And my daughter said, she said, Dad, that's pretty cool, but you actually asked the wrong question. I said, you asked the wrong question. I said, what do you mean, Renelle? She said, well, you shouldn't have asked, how do you shorten the lines? You should have asked, how do you eliminate the lines? Right answer, wrong question. This was before Apple stores came out. Right answer, wrong question. The biggest challenge that we have, Einstein said that he were to only had 1 minute to solve a problem, what would he do? He'd spend 50 seconds thinking about it and 10 seconds executing it. The questions that we pose as IT leaders automatically line up the answers that we seek. If we do not take the time to pose high-value questions, you will never get high-value answers. Need further convincing? Okay. You remember when having a Kodak moment used to be a good thing? They had the right answer. They built a great camera. Wrong question. How do you enable shared experiences? Blockbuster got Netflix. Borders got Amazon. It goes on and on and on. Right? Right answer, wrong question. How do you get around this? You're going to have how many connected devices? 20 billion connected devices, 20 million, all these connected devices coming in. All these connected devices are doing what? What are they doing? They're giving you answers, man. Your challenge is to be good at Jeopardy. That's what they're doing. We're not listening. We shut ourselves off to it. Too much noise. Think about the last decision you made as an IT leader and tell me where were your points of listening. Take a piece of paper, write it down next time you make a decision. Who and what are you listening to? You'll be lucky if you get to 3. First, it'll be internal. 2, it'll be somebody you like, and it typically stops there. Typically stops there, right? So a lot more listening sources that you have to embrace so that you can ultimately drive to make sure that you are asking the high-value question. Okay. Number 9, we got a shortage on talent. Love this one. We got a shortage on talent. We can't find data scientists. We can't find them. No, that's not true. They just don't want to work for you. It's true. How many of you heard of Kaggle? You ever heard of Kaggle? Upwork, Gap Jumpers. Let me tell you. You know what they're doing? This is a true story. Talk to them all the time. You know what they're doing? The average data scientist says, how much money are you going to pay me? What is the revenue per employee that this company makes? Ooh, that's a problem. That's what they do. They're data scientists. That's what they do, right? And they say, well, why should I get paid from you that much? Well, I can get paid everybody that much. So I don't want a job. I want a role. I love to be a contractor. I love it. Over 48% of U.S. workforce is contractors. They are available on demand. You just got to figure out how to use them. Don't be offended. Don't be upset. Just figure out that you got to innovate outside the four walls of your organization to get access to this talent, because it's there and it's available. But that means that you have to have processes from procurement. How do you bring in this talent? How do I able to create it and modularize it? Very, very critical, right? Okay. The final one. Learn this from the guys in security. Security professionals are great because their whole job is to figure out how to become the disruptor versus disrupted. Wonderful job. And I had an opportunity to work when the top security professionals started .com, Nick at Uptake, and learned a lot from him. One of the things I learned, he said, Joseph, we got this idea of this red team. I said, really? He said, oh, yeah. I said, what do they do? He says, well, these are people that we pick, great hackers, great talent. We give them all the tools. They sit outside of our organization, and they try to break us. I said, really? So that's a great idea. Interesting. Then I paused, and I told myself, I said, now, if they're doing that for security, and we want to figure out how to be disruptive, well, why don't we do that ourselves? So here's the experiment I did. I got a finance person, I got a marketing person, I got a sales person, I got a strategy person. I got them all in the room, and I said, one question. I said, how would you put me out of business? You got 48 hours to give me that answer. Do it every quarter. Best thing in the world I ever did in my life. It is amazing. If you want to worry, if you want to think disruptively, put some time into it. Take a sample of leaders within IT, out IT, and tell them, how would you put your company out of business? Very personalized statement, makes it personal, gets a little edgy, right? They get excited, they go after it. Critically important. Take some time to do that. And here's the thing that you're going to find. Counterintuitive. If I asked you the job that you're hiring for, and let me put the disclaimer right now. Don't leave this room and say, Joseph doesn't like STEM. Joseph thinks STEM isn't any good. No, I think it's great. I'm all for STEM, all for it. But I'm telling you, kids that don't want to do STEM, don't force them into it. Here's what I'm telling you. In a world where all the answers are known, what is the value? Value is in knowing what question to ask. In a world where you're trying to figure out what question to ask, you're going to experience the rise of the humanities. All of those history and English and all those majors, philosophy majors, it's a strange thing, but they think a little differently than we do. How many of the jobs, the people that you're hiring come from that type of background? If the answer is zero, wake-up call, you're going to need them. You're going to need them. Because the questions they ask, how they interpret the data, very, very different. Not saying STEM is bad. I'm just telling you that the rise of the humanities is coming. So you better think about English, philosophy, classics, all those majors, because you need to understand, how do I think of the problem differently? How do I commercialize the problem differently? You got all the answers. The answers are all in this room. Watch your kids do homework. Just watch them. Oh, man. Alexa, what is the answer to this question? Siri, what is the answer? The answers are all there. The questions, the value is what question are they asking? Okay, so we've covered a lot, right? We covered these 10 things. We covered these 10 areas, these 10 topics. And I've told you the most important thing that I think that you need to ultimately grasp is really understanding and embracing the questions that you need to ask to be successful. I will leave you with this, that throughout the day and throughout your time here, I know we've challenged you with a lot of things. And I don't want you to worry about what you don't know. That is not the key to success. The key to success is not wondering and trying to figure out all the things that you don't know. That's not what you need to do. What you need to do as IT leaders and IT professionals is wake up each and every day and challenge what you believe to be true. Thank you very much.
So 2 comments. First one is, I think I understand why only your boss is willing to go after you. Second comment, for next year, guys, I think if we can get rid of the stage, add more seats. So first of all, we have a lot of questions,
Sure.
and some really impactful session. So the first question, and again, keep them coming in Spark. We're going to feed them live as we have time. Otherwise, Joseph will answer them in the Spark space. We're making really good use of our own technology. So rule number 3 about diversity.
Yes.
So you have to demand a diverse set of candidates when you recruit.
Yes.
But how do you achieve that? The reality is most of the applicants in our industry are male.
Most of the applicants are male, man. I'm fishing in this pond. Where are you searching for? You have to take it upon yourself to identify and be active in the search pool. It is your responsibility. It's not their responsibility to find you. Imagine this. Imagine teaching a class. You're a teacher, and everybody in the class is failing. And you say, well, they're just all dummies. Clearly, because the material must be right. What you have to do is to search out affinity groups, tons of affinity groups at local colleges. You can pick any one that you have. You can go out and reach out to these groups. You can go out and reach out to the curriculums of professors. You can offer contests. One of the best ways to get and grab talent is to offer a simple contest. Tell folks at a college, hey, guess what? I'm looking for these types of professionals, or I have a question I want to ask. Go to those affinity groups and say, here's a challenge that we're going to offer. And based on that challenge, the winning group will get what at a college? We'll give them an internship. Believe me, they will come to you. Okay.
Excellent. In that same realm, most corporate cultures include we call them blue badgers, their employees on the inside, whereas their contractors are outside. They're not included in internal parties or whatever it is. If that's really where we want to go, is go there, get that talent by contracting. How do we impact our corporate environments to change that?
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing is you got to understand, it's not your mess for less. Meaning you can't just go out to the world and say, I just want to start contracting a process that's not outsourceable, and I want to throw it out to the world and hope I get somebody back. First thing that you have to do is you have to modularize your workflows. So you got to think about a task that can be modularized, and you got to think about, when I go to this contract workforce, when I get back, how can I integrate it into the business? So start small. Don't just take on the whole problem as a big thing. If you start small and you can identify that problem, then it makes logical and business sense for you to begin to incorporate more and more into your culture. Once that happens, the socialization of your culture will happen naturally, right? When people see each other and they exchange value, that socialization aspect will happen naturally. You can't force that to happen. You can't force culture to change. Culture changes and ebbs and flows based on the value that people receive from one another. So that's what you got to focus on.
Excellent. So being part of our senior leadership, what do you feel is the best strategy to enhance the corporate culture?
Yeah, great question. So to me, the best strategy to enhance the corporate culture is really, really, really simple at the basic level, is improve listening. the ability for you to listen, to truly have listening as a core part of your culture will drive you to listen to a diverse set of groups, a diverse set of people. Listening is a skill set that we have lost. We live in a very heavily answer mindset organization. And answer mindset is very, very dangerous, as we talked about, because it shuts off the entire ability or realm of possibilities. For us to have the V2 movement in 2018, for us to realize that we have not been listening to 52% of the U.S. workforce is an embarrassment and is ridiculous. That gives you a sense of how bad this problem is. So if we want to truly improve your culture, if you start and focus with listening, giving people's voices the ability to be heard, you will find that you will get on your path to great value.
Wow, amazing message.
Thank you.
Amazing closing message.
All right,
Thank you
thanks
so
a lot,
much.
man. Thank you.
Excellent.